correct then?
However, the exact wording of the verdict is thus. The Hydro Archon, guilty, to be punished via the death sentence.
The death sentence?
That's actually one of the available sentences? I've always thought that it was just a myth.
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court, and it's been given to the very person we've worshipped as the god of justice? What an unexpected twist.
Furina's been sentenced to death by the Oratrice? We just wanted to use the trial to show her the seriousness of things so she'd tell us the truth. How did things escalate this quickly?
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontain's current definitions of justice, as well as its recommendations for criminal sentences, is this sentence really appropriate for the crimes that have been committed?
Yeah! Even Fauché wasn't sentenced to death by the Oratrice. You know, the real evil mastermind behind the serial disappearances case.
Indeed. Not only is Furina's sentence overly excessive, the very point of our trial today was also to prove that Furina has never been the Hydro Archon in the first place. But now, the Oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title of the Hydro Archon. What does this mean?
Excuse me, if I may interrupt. Is the trial still going?
Fremine! You finally made it. I assume this means you've completed your mission?
Mm-hmm. Any mission Father assigns to me will always be top priority.
Is that the first prophecy slate? Huh. So the knave privately arranged for Fremine to try and find the missing slate.
I looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. It took me a long time to get around some dangerous stretches of water. But has the trial already concluded? Then doesn't that mean I've come too late? Oh.
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Fremine. Please allow me to review the record left on the slate. Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing slates, and would like you to come here and confirm their contents.
Huh? So what do you see? What is it?
I believe I have now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime. It has to do with Fontain's...
Huh? Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? Oh, wait, no, that's Furina, and we've already proven that she... so when you say Hydro Archon, do you mean the real Hydro Archon we've been kinda talking about?
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontainr up until this point can be traced back to the... However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make to you.
Okay, let's try to recall the contents of the other 3 stone slates. Paimon will... Stone slate describes what you just said. It seems to show the previous Hydro Archon using her divine power, and then the Oceanids turn into humans. Does that mean that Fontainians are transformed Oceanids? Oh, Paimon wasn't expecting that. But if Oceanids can turn into humans, then Perhaps this process can be reversed. The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping it together. But the heavens still brought judgment down upon them. This must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontainians were branded with their original sin. Does this mean that the original sin and the Hydro Archon... The third slate shows the Hydro Archon seeking into the sea surrounded by many people. That reminds Paimon, didn't we also watch that happen to someone? Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontainians have been talking about. People dissolving into the sea, the Hydro Archon crying on her throne, and so... We didn't believe that such a crazy disaster could happen at first, did we? But after that incident, it was just a question of when... That doesn't sound quite right. That doesn't sound quite...
We know from the case of the serial disappearances of young women that Fontainr and the first stone slate tells us that long ago that this might be the reason that Fontainians can dissolve. Perhaps what is about to take place has all happened before. And the original sin. It's not as simple as falling into the sea. When Navia fell into the sea, her consciousness was subjected to judgment. The stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon in the sea. Could that be alluding to the same thing? The prophecy from the stone slates found its way into society, but not many people believed it at first. The fortress of Meropide was nearly flooded with primordial seawater, which we know can cause Fontainians to dissolve. If we hadn't dealt with it in time, things could have...
They'll dissolve into the primordial sea but won't cease to exist. Their essence will flow in the seawater. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people of Poisson in a court within her consciousness. The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meropide was the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass. The prophecy's contents can all be verified by recent events. If we combine what we know together, loads of truths should come to light. It now, so that's how you can make sense of it. But then it feels like we're share some truly shocking
Let's hear them.
Incredible. Linny, did you hear that?
We're not real humans.
All Fontainians were originally created by the late previous Hydro Archon, with Oceanids as their basis. The evidence for that can be found in how only Fontainians could dissolve in primordial seawater, and how all the girls Vacher dissolved were also turned into Oceanids. Oh, and according to Navia, when she was about to get dissolved, she also saw everyone gathered around for a trial, all of them in the shape of Oceanids.
Indeed.
Yeah, and it follows from the content of the first slate that she probably angered Celestia by creating humans without prior permission. That could also explain why the Oratrice judged the Hydro Archon to be guilty. It's to account for that ancient sin.
The Hydro Archon's true sin was creating us?
And yet, after many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to judge the Archon within the Opera Epiclese. The twists of history.
Yeah, isn't the image here just like when Navia fell into the sea? So wouldn't it be trying to show the image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been fulfilled in the end? The people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away. Did Paimon get all that right?
You've made some keen deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know, it is impressive that you've already managed to connect so many pieces of the truth. However, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also been etched with an additional layer of hidden information using a different power source. When we were at the ruins, I tried to decipher the hidden information recorded in the slates. But since we only had 3 slates at the time, I was unable to come to a full conclusion. Now that the slate collection is complete, I shall make another attempt to decipher the narrative recorded within. If everything goes well, we should finally be informed of the unadulterated truth.
Well? Did you get it?
I believe I should share this truth not only with you, but with all the people of Fontaine as well. I will try to briefly summarize it for you. Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontainians and the sin of the Hydro Archon were both correct. In the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land. The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire to become of a similar kind. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the 7, did not possess the authority to create a new form of human life. Not one to give in, she eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanids' blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontainians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse. Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race, and thus, the Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history of how the people of Fontaine first came.
So we were all Oceanids before we turned into human beings?
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I never heard a single thing. Wait, but if that's the truth, we can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death. After all, her only sin was creating us.
might be too much information for your regular Fontainian, but it...
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the third and fourth stone slates was inaccurate. The slates' respective positions are, in fact, correct. A key point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water are humans, rather, they have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not. The nation of Fontainr is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of trials and justice. Instead of being the literal element, the water in the scene symbolizes judgment and You may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, her consciousness was surrounded by that of many others who intended to hold a trial to determine her fate. Therefore, the meaning of the third slate that the people of Fontainr shall try the Hydro Archon at the court of justice. Yes, it refers to our present situation.
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though we decided to put on this trial to have, in truth, everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold. So now it's...
What should we do?
Huh. No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled.
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate will also be fulfilled?
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fallacy in your deductions. About the fourth slate, you probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater beneath the fortress of Meropide served as the sure. However, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that eruption could in fact only be a small warning of something far worse to come. As for the root cause of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered. This eruption was just a small warning of the things to come. We must find the root cause of the...
That doesn't sound quite... That doesn't sound...
It was both dream and reality.
If we're talking about a true culprit, that could only be that thing inside the primordial sea, right?
The truth, the original sin, the trial, and...
So we've met it at last. I understand very well why it has chosen to make an appearance here. That whale does not belong to Teyvat. It is a monster that has traversed the star. It has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. That is the main cause for the rising sea levels. And once it has finished consuming all of the energy contained within the sea, its next step will...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontainians out of Oceanids, she filled their blood vessels with primordial seawater.
Precisely. That whale finds the blood of Fontainians nigh impossible to resist. Therefore, when it left the primordial sea, it decided to make its next stop a packed opera house full of food.
We just barely managed to push it back, right? In that case, won't it come back to target the people again once it's managed to recover its strength?
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that Harbinger for buying us some time. Without him, the whale would have likely come onto land far sooner. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but we definitely didn't expect it to help us out like this. Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the prophecy, all we need to do to stop the prophecy would be to find a way to beat it up, right?
It is too late. It had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it has become practically integrated with the sea itself. Even if the entirety of Teyvat were to be destroyed, it could still survive and swim up.
That's not something I will accept. We've already done everything we can, and we even found the true culprit. We've come so far. You can't just tell me that the last hurdle is some impossible foe. That's just not fair.
Indeed, that's not how a grand performance should end.
I'll fight it to the end, no matter what.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future. Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Teyvat's future. All you need to do is to play your part.
What's happening with the oratories?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
Furina!
No, I still need answers.
You...
Sorry. That shocked expression on your face is just too amusing. I couldn't help myself.
You are not Furina. Who are you?
The sweet sound of bewilderment. Marvelous. A sure sign that my attempt to deceive everyone was a resounding success. But to answer your question...
Focalor, why did you deceive us?
Oh, that wasn't my goal, of course. Goodness, no. But I had to fool everyone else too, if I was to stand any chance of deceiving the heavenly principles.
Deceiving the heavenly principle?
It's all because of that pernicious prophecy. Dreadful, wasn't it? Everyone doomed to dissolve. Fontainr condemned to be flooded. One was not amused. In fact, one was positively bemused when that problem was thrust upon me by my dearest predecessor. She knew full well that the prophecy would surely come to pass. And as one of the seven, she also knew full well that one defies the heavenly principles at one's peril. So yes, as you have no doubt surmised, it was a rather impossible situation that I found myself in. I spent a terribly long time mulling it over, alone on the ocean floor. And I had to outwit the heavenly principles, allow the prophecy to be fulfilled, ostensibly at least, while saving everyone at the same time. I'm a genius, I know. I can only assume that's why Egeria chose me as her successor. Although, looking back now, it was hardly the inheritance one dreams of. Between the task of saving the nation, the quotidian duties of the Hydro Archon, and not... But one can only play the hand one is dealt. I did not choose this, any more than I chose to be one of her Oceanid familiars.
So you were also once one of the Oceanids, transformed into a human by Egeria's hand?
Yes, I was. I always dreamed of becoming human. And I still do, even now. In my eyes, to be after becoming a god, I separated my divinity from my body and spirit, leaving behind only a self that was as naive and the me you see before you now is that divinity. And the human counterpart I left behind, she could feel joy, sorrow, and everything in between. She could be as vain and conceited, or as meek and vulnerable, as her strengths were of a kind only a human could possess. But in my eyes, Furina's humanity was what made her perfect. She was perfectly human. Anyway, so then I cursed her. All part of the plan, of course. The plan to deceive the heavenly principles. Do you still remember the final scene of the prophecy? The Hydra Archon alone, weeping on her throne. In order that the prophecy might appear fulfilled, I invited Furina to be an actress, to play the part of the Hydro Archon in the prophecy, under the curse I placed on her. So long as I, Focalor's divinity, continued to exist, she could not die. But nor was she instead, she was forced to take the stage in the opera house, to embrace the role of leading lady, to forever play the part of the god from the prophecy, all to create... I suppose now you probably understand why your court is called the Opera Epiclese.
But Furina is only human, isn't she? Even though she has had a long life, her mind is no stronger than that of any other ordinary human being. I cannot begin to fathom what she has had to endure. It must have been torture for her.
It has indeed. And although she is, in a sense, me in human form, I most definitely owe her an apology for it. It's been 500 years, and all along, she's been playing her part in the most unimaginably long, unbearably lonely, and agonizingly painful opera of all time.
Rest and rebuild!
Oh, who permitted you to come onto the stage? Now, I understand your admiration for my august self, but I'm... All right. It is not my intent to reprimand you. There is no need to state your name. Just be off with you. Do not distract me from my Oh, do not jest. Can you not feel it? I am Focalor. The eyes of countless Fontainians are upon me. I must, at all times, display... Dear audience, the performance is experiencing a technical difficulty, but worry not. The guards shall resolve it soon.
It's showtime! Let's roll!
Gotcha.
Rest and rebuild!
Uphill battle!
Covenant of the Deep!
Here comes the catch.
Bam!
Hey, what gives? The audience is still watching me, you know. Guards? Wait, where are the guards? Guards!
Oni coming through! Cha! Attaboy!
Busted.
Let's move out. Torrents, bring refuge! Rest and rebuild!
Shine down!
Furina.
Huh? Who's that? Who's calling me? Where are you?
Be not nervous. Be not afraid.
Wait a moment. You're near me? How can this be?
Mirror you, huh? You know what? That's not bad. Let's go with
Mirror me. What do you wish to say?
the prophecy. Have you heard of it?
What prophecy? Wait. I know. I think. I don't know why, but it's in my head. The people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain, weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontainr be washed away.
Oh, very good. You know it well.
What's going on? I can't seem to remember anything clearly. The only thing I know for sure is this prophecy.
Yes, it will. And that is why I've come to you. Disaster will...
But doesn't that mean everyone will die? I'm a Fontainian just like them.
Oh, don't worry. Magical meetings exist in this world precisely to give people a chance to turn things. I will tell you how to save everyone, but you may have to suffer some.
Oh, so there's still hope after all. Goodness. As for the suffering, well, I will admit that the first thing, but if the prophecy will come true, I'll also die anyway, right? So if I've already met you, if there were scales, with all the people of Fontainr on one side, and my pain on the other, is it not obvious where the...
You truly are. I suppose this would also be the justice that belongs to you.
Huh?
Don't worry, it's nothing. Listen well. Fontainr has just lost its Hydro Archon. I need you to play a role.
Play as a god?
That's right. You must begin a never-ending masquerade. You must never let anyone suspect your identity. If you can keep it up, then I shall have my way of defying this prophecy.
But how will I do this? A human assuming the role of a god?
Don't worry. What you must do is not to turn yourself into a real god. Being a human yourself, I'm sure you already know what such an entity would be like. Remember, your true challenge will not be pursuing divinity, but contending against
I'm still not sure I understand, but I'll try. So, how long am I going to have
To accomplish this mission, you will have to stay on the stage for many, many years. You will endure, but I promise you, all will eventually end.
A trial, huh? How exciting. The Maison Cardinalise has announced my accession. But this is my first, what should I say, to most appear like a god. To be honest, I still don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm sure you've all heard about how I have taken on the role of Hydro Archon. Indeed, I am Furina. In truth, I know little about becoming a nation's new god, but it will be my honor to guide you all. As the god Focalor, the god of justice, I shall do all within my power to lead you into an age of fairness and justice. Once again, thank you all for coming. If you should have any questions or suggestions, please send them to the Maison Cardinalise. The future of this should do it. I thought I might stammer, but thankfully, I was able to...
That's the new Hydro Archon. Is this some kind of joke by the Maison? I would have thought that a being that surpasses humanity would be a bit more assertive.
Hey, did you hear that? She even told us to send her suggestions there at the end.
Shouldn't gods be all-powerful? She's being so modest. What's the difference between her...
If you ask me, perhaps the succession didn't actually happen. She might just be a Maison back.
Wait, what's going on? Why is everyone suspecting me of being a fake? Oh, this is bad. If I get exposed here, there'll be no saving the people from the prophecy. Right. Mirmi said that I just need to play the role of a god as humans imagine them to be. Calm down, Furina. Think. What do the people want? How would they assertive, with a strong sense of presence, one who can dispel all doubt. That is the... Now, I was wondering if some weak puppet were to one day come onto the stage and... Well, it seems that you would all see right through them. Having passed my test, you are qualified to witness wondrous trials alongside my... you may consider my previous act a door gift of sorts. I thought it was a debut. Now then, let us be
so that was just a performance. How could I have forgotten that we were inside an opera house?
Her personality. It's quite shocking, to be honest, but I suppose it's a better look than before. Such a fascinating and bold deity. How wonderful. Our future may yet be bright after all.
It seems I've turned them around. Best follow this flow and restart my accession speech. My dear people, whether you acknowledge me or not, whether you trust me or nay, I say to you, keep faith in your art. We have heard it said that this nation's sins can no longer be washed away. Well, I say that justice is most fragrant when it blooms amid sin. The scales of justice should not weigh heavy in the hands of its God. On one side, it must carry fair. May law be the prayer on our lips. May judgment be our worship. Let us light the fires and drink to the... There is no trouble in this world that justice cannot solve. All that is needed is for you, my people, to... So long as I, the Archon Focalor, stand within the Opera Epiclese, so long as I stand before the oratrice,
Lady Furina, here are today's case reports, as well as a summary of the follow-up for your perusal.
Come now, was I not just at the Opera House in person? Leave these kinds of things to Neuvillette. Besides, None of these trials were the one that I'm looking forward to the most.
If I may be so impertinent, what kind of trial are you truly looking forward to?
A magnificent, dramatic, and wondrous trial. A trial to...
That's true, I fear I lack the ability to grasp your divine thought, Lady Archon.
No need for fright, and do not take what I said before too seriously. Go now.
Lady Furina, I don't know what to say. Thank you for agreeing to see me.
No need to thank me. Or rather, thank your own sense of perseverance instead. Oh, I'm afraid that... All right. Deoteria, is it? How is your son's illness?
You remembered me, and you knew of... He is doing much better now. In fact, he is far more of an ardent believer than I. He was the one who forced me to seek an audience with you, and...
Oh, good. Very good. If this should happen again in the future, please do not hesitate to come and tell me. Going down to Citizen's Home.
Oh, you're such a gentle and wise god.
Lady Furina, here are the latest hydrological reports. As for the specific parameters you asked to take note of, I'm afraid things still don't look good.
I see. It's as I thought then. As your god, I did already expect this, but I wanted to see how far your human wisdom... All manner of signs indicate that the prophecy will still come to pass. Forget it. That's not...
Well, as I understand it, the Fontainr Research Institute is also trying to find a way to counter the...
Really? Have they found anything?
I'm afraid that they haven't found any effective solution, though.
Oh, is that so? Well, no wonder. This issue has reached the realm of the gods, after all. The day is finally over. I haven't had a moment to breathe this whole time, but it's good to see that everything's getting on track. There are no longer any void. Maybe this is fine. I just need to keep going. All right, Furina, don't think too hard about this. You need rest.
Lady Furina, here are the new trial reports for the latest cases, as well as a summary of the follow-up.
There'll be no need for that. I've seen them already.
Lady Furina, I've waited so long.
Indeed, my dear, loyal citizen. This joyous moment is an
Lady Furina, we're detecting significant hydrological anomalies near Poisson.
Understood. Keep monitoring. Keep me informed should anything come up at the Institute. I don't think I let anything slip today. I just don't know when these days will end. I feel utterly exhausted. Best to rest early today, too.
Lady Furina, it's like a dream being able to speak with you. I've heard that the first member of our family who was honored to receive an audience with you was Madame Deoteria.
And what a fine family yours is indeed. It brings me...
Surely you exaggerate.
What is it, good citizen?
Are you crying?
Really now? This must be the overflow of hydro from my person. Well, can't quite help being the god who's...
No wonder. No wonder. A manifestation of your power, then. Oh, Archon, I am honored to have witnessed it.
So interminable. Hundreds of years must have passed by now. Perhaps I never imagined that it would have I reached my limit. No. I want to tell someone, anyone, about this. But I've conducted so many investigations across the centuries. But all I can do is keep heart. I must maintain this act.
Furina, you don't have to shoulder this burden alone. Although I don't know what you might be keeping from everyone, your people are more than willing to share your burden with you.
Share my burden? That's impossible. It was fated right from the start.
But even if your burden doesn't need to be shared, you can still choose to confide. Just share it with me. I'm
a witness. Yes, I've heard that you came to Tevat from beyond the stars, yes. In other words, and if Tevat is, in its entirety, a show on a stage, then you're just a She's right. I could confide in her, couldn't I? But if things don't play out as expected... No, Furina. You shouldn't be selfish. But what if it's really alright? Furina, you've worked so hard for so... Is it such an outrageous thing to do anyway? To find someone in whom you can confide. If you let this opportunity slip through your fingers, think about it. Long and hard. No, I have nothing to say. I am Furina. All you need to do, dear spectator, is to witness my...
Fine.
So even Furina doesn't know the truth? You've never once let her in on the full plan?
Yes, it had to be done. To deceive the heavenly principles, you must first deceive... She did very well. If she had let her resolve falter even once in these 5 centuries, Fontainr would have been doomed to the most tragic fate. It seems that trusting humanity was the right...
I believe that I understand how your deception works, but that is only half the truth. How would you build on this foundation to save the people of Fontainr? That is the most important.
Ah, good, good. Of course, the Iudex of Fontainr has pinpointed the I'm sure you've long sensed that the Oratrice is no simple machine.
I've always suspected that it had its own consciousness. And Lenny did mention that he heard a human voice. It now seems that that person was you, hidden within the machine all along.
And then I became one with the Oratrice, taking Fontain's gnosis with me. Yes, it would seem so. Alas, your understanding of this... In truth, it is no enactor of justice. It is, in fact, a device created... Oh, you have it. And to be more precise, not only will the Oratrice take down the god of justice, it will also take down... I mean... Did you think I would be the sort to enjoy peaceful repose? My work over these last 500 years has been to constantly accumulate indemnity. But really, some have already discovered that only a small fraction of the energy generated by the device was ever used to provide power to Fontainr. The vast majority had to be accumulated.
It was all a part of your plan then? Both the trial and...
Indeed. This power, accrued over 5 centuries, could have sustained Fontainians for millennia, had it only been used for that purpose. Almost all of it has now been... But only power of this magnitude could hope to destroy the Hydro Archon's divine throne, shaking the rules established by Celestia. And breaking...
So the Oratrice's call for death was for neither Furina nor Focalor, but for the Hydro Archon. The destruction of that divine throne. If I do not misunderstand your...
Returning what's rightfully yours to you, of course. In other words, this was all done to return the authority of the Hydro Archon to...
But...
Oh, what? Getting sad again, are we? The authority of the ancient dragons shall soon be yours once more, O Hydro Dragon Sovereign.
All you've done throughout the years is just so you can sacrifice yourself at the very end.
I've never quite seen it that way, you know. Even now, I'm quite pleased at how well my deception worked. Hydro Dragon, Hydro Dragon. I must say, had it been within my rights, I would have loved to judge the heavenly principles themselves. Were they not? Egeria stole the power of the primordial sea, and the heavenly principles stole the power you ancient dragons possessed. I, for my part, am the god of justice. And is it not just that your original power... Speaking of justice, I have always believed that justice lies in the process of pursuing human existence itself. So, if the theft of the primordial sea's might was Fontain's original sin, then, leaving matters of procedural right and wrong aside, the descent of the Fontainians as humans and their right to exist in this world. In other words... Existence was Egeria's justice, and to me, justice is the continuation, defying the prophecy and ensuring that Fontain's people shall live on. At this point, we, whether it be myself or all other Iudex Nervillet, the highest judge in our land, when you regain your full power as an elemental sovereign...
So when I was invited to the court of Fontainr to serve as Iudex, I see, at last, I now understand the true purpose behind this position. In the beginning, I was uninterested in human existence. But these 5 centuries of living alongside them have gradually brought about mutual understanding between us. And I have even attempted to feel as they feel. You are a devious one, Focalor. Things being as they are, Surely you know that I could never declare them to be guilty.